Carefully erase the guidelines on your drawing, leaving behind only the still life objects and the horizon line. Be gentle to avoid smudging the pencil work. Take a moment to study your photograph. Select the oil pastels which best match the colours in your photograph. Which colours do you see in your photograph? You must pick out a black, white and grey oil pastel to use. Leave areas of white space to apply colour to if your object has a colour reflection on it. Always blend colour oil pastels into black oil pastels. To blend a black into orange and then into pink, I started with a black oil pastel, applying heavy pressure. I then lightened up the pressure and blended orange oil pastel back into the lighter shade of black. I then blended orange oil pastel back into this pink oil pastel. To blend a colour and grey together, apply the colour first and blend the grey back into it. To create dark defining lines, I used a brown oil pastel instead of a black oil pastel. Black oil pastel can be extremely harsh and overpowering. Using a brown oil pastel worked well to create the lines that made the perfume bottle look like it has sharper edges and therefore more three-dimensional. To create this section, I mixed the colour with grey to create a tone. When you mix white and a colour, you create a tint. To create this section, I mixed the colour with grey to create a tone. I also mixed orange and black to create a shade. If you create a shade that is too harsh, you can always go over it with the same pure colour oil pastel to tone it down and make it look softer and more blended. After applying various primary, secondary and tertiary coloured oil pastels, I added the white highlights on the bottle using a clean white oil pastel. The background mostly was created using tints. Instead of creating shades in the background by mixing a colour with black, I mixed it with a dark brown. To create a shadow under my perfume bottle that wasn't the darkest shade in the whole still life piece, I used a brown oil pastel. I started applying the brown oil pastel with a heavy pressure and lightened up as it reached the edge of the page. Next, I took a lighter shade of brown and blended it back into the darker shade of brown. To create various tints, tones and shades that make the floor look more realistic, I applied the brown oil pastel lightly over most of the floor. By applying a lighter brown, I was able to blend it into grey, white and black later. If I had applied the brown with heavy pressure, I wouldn't have been able to make it lighter later.